Come, let us explore meditation for techniques for PMS. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. The question begins, meditation for anger. I'm new to this sub, so sorry if my question has been asked before. I'm wondering if meditation will help lessen or diffuse anger and irritability. I'd like to develop a regular practice, especially if it will help curb the experience of irritability and rage I tend to feel before I get to my period. I'm 46, and I have noticed my PMS has gotten severe since I've entered my 40s. If anyone can speak to this, I'd appreciate your input. So let's start right there. Clearly, you can tell by my ugly old face, I have no uterus, and therefore my opinion means very little. But I am very experienced with being on the receiving end of medical gaslighting. So allow me to remind you of that which you already know. The rage associated with PMS, especially the rage associated with pre-menopausal PMS, is not psychological. It is merely a psychological, it's not a psychological disorder, it's a psychological symptom of a physiological process, profoundly transformative process. Speaking as an outsider, Mother Nature has played a couple of really mean tricks on women. First, it's made them attracted to men who are a home improvement project unto themselves. And two, Mother Nature treats a woman's body pretty much like a Swiss Army knife. Mother Nature is continually remodeling the inside of a woman's body. And it's difficult. From what I've heard, from what I've seen, it's difficult. And you deserve the utmost of empathy. So I'm going to so here's one thing to do. And if your primary care physician specializes in menopause or premenopause, great. If not, find a new one. Find a physician for whom this is their specialty. If you don't have one, or you don't have anybody who just raves about theirs, then go to this link. It's for a free database that will help you find fully qualified physicians for whom lifestyle therapies have played an important part in their continuing education. This can go a long way. Our suffering is not exacerbated typically because of a prescription drug deficiency, but often because in our absurd world that we find ourselves living in, we've turned away from tried and true practices that have been working for multiple millennia. Let's go back to the original set of questions. I'd also love an app recommendation. Whoopsie, wrong button. I used to meditate with Sam Harris's Waking Up app, but I stopped and I honestly cannot remember why. I've tried Headspace and didn't care for it. I'll go back to waking up unless others can suggest something simple and effective. I've read a lot of good things on this sub. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Let's see here. Oh, never mind, I can wait. I've read a lot of good things on this sub about Insight Timer. Is this one a favorite in this community? I'll try it if there's a free version that offers some simple and helpful meditations for me to get started with. So, what I'd like to do now is introduce you to meditation from the perspective of neuroscience. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. So it should not come as a great surprise that 90% of meditation teachers out there stomp and snort as if being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel was useful. And only a minority are all about being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. But they are there. So I've said all that to say this. 90% of meditation teachers will implore the students to practice active concentration or active analysis. They may even give them Pali names such as samatha and vipassana, or their Sanskrit equivalent shamatha and vipassana, which whenever I say, I feel like I'm going to dislocate my jaw. So, this prefrontal cortex is Jim Dandy. If you want to compare, contrast, sort, calculate, analyze, edit, this is your boy. However, it's kind of like a Stradivarius, and if you overwork it, it's going to stimulate our amygdala. It's the thing about the size of an almond, the seat of anxiety and aggression. So how darkly ironic would it be for you to good-heartedly follow the advice of a meditation teacher, to actively concentrate and actively analyze in the name of transcending premenopausal rage, when doing so will actually exacerbate it? Insert dramatic music. Dun, dun, dun. So, good news, there are regions of the central nervous system that are optimized for both mindfulness and meditation. Let's look at that right now. I guess I should go back one more page and say, so the goal is to stop concentrating on our breath and instead use breath the way a piano student uses a metronome. How could that work? Well, every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system found in the middle third of our spinal cord. This sympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us to perceive in a very specific way, to help us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Well, of course, to help us notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, but also to help us notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Whole spectrum of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. So few things require as much courage as being vulnerable to the profundity of rage, whether it is directed outwards or inwards. Now, this could sound overwhelming. Fortunately, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is found in both the lower third as well as the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now you might say, well, if that's the case, why aren't I already enlightened? After all, I have a working central nervous system and I tend to breathe every day. Why aren't I peaceful yet? And the answer in a word is Urkel. Remember Urkel? He was really clever, good-hearted, but klutzy as hell. Welcome to the three-ring shooting gallery that is our brain. This bad boy is Spazzy von Spazalot. But here's something ironic. When we silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, our brain feels compelled to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system. Similarly, when we silently, mentally, and passively recite the monosyllabic verb ease during our exhalation, this exact same brain cooperates with our parasympathetic nervous system. So how ironic is that? Simply by playing with monosyllabic words in harmony with our breathing, we can master the perception and release of a Buddha in a ridiculously short period of time. Now, will this eradicate our capacity to experience unpleasant sensations? No. Will this eradicate our capacity to experience unpleasant emotions? Hell no. Then what good is it? It will help us cease to live in perpetual resistance to the present moment. It'll keep us from resisting perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. It'll help us to make peace with whatever comes up. So now let's tie this up in a big red bow. If your physician does not specialize in the perils of premenopausal women, then find one who does. Especially if they have made an emphasis of studying lifestyle therapies. Number 2, don't concentrate and analyze. Number 3, practice mindfulness and meditation in harmony with the 2 facets of your autonomic nervous system. You can start 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. When you feel comfortable, you can push it up to 10 minutes every 12 hours or so. Perhaps in 3 weeks, you can push it up to 15 minutes. And I'm sure you're noticing a pattern here. By the conclusion of the 12th week, you could be meditating like a champ. The only timer you need comes pre-installed on your smartphone. I think it could be great fun if together as a team we chanted and meditated together. So let's do that after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. What am I looking for? Gotta find this one right here. This should do it. Fabulous. So, spoiler alert, we're going to alternate between a short chant and a 15-minute meditation. We're going to go back and forth, just like ping pong. Please chant with me. By the way, this people here are known in Sanskrit as Samantbhadra, Samantbhadri, Karamamudra. They're known in Tibetan as Kuntu Zangpo Yabiyam. In English, we refer to them as the All Good Ones. Together. Oopsie, one moment. There we go. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that they inhalate with the take two. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that with inhalations this we are wired to mindfully notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. 2 more times. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that with inhalations this we are wired to mindfully notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that with inhalations this we are wired to mindfully notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. So let us practice our first of 4 sets of 144 breaths. The easiest way to remember that we're on our first set is to gingerly rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger in our lap. Kind of like the way we see in this statue right here. Now that's all well and good, but I do believe Lama Jigme just mentioned 144 breaths. How do we count that on just 8 fingers and 2 thumbs? Is he a madman? Perhaps. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to count 12 sets of 12 repetitions. Let us count our 12 breaths on our right hand. During each inhalation, when we silently and mentally recite this, we can advance our right thumb, beginning with our right index finger. Please practice along with me. Now that we've learned how to count to 12 breaths on our right hand, on our left hand we can count sets. First set, second set, third set, and the like. Please chant with me. The translucence of the all good ones remind us that with exhalations these we all wire to physically relax and mentally release the settling into meditation's experience of non-graspability. The translucence of the all good ones remind us that with exhalations these we all wire to physically relax and mentally release the settling into meditation's experience of non-graspability. The translucence of the all good ones remind us that with exhalations these we all wire to physically relax and mentally release the settling into meditation's experience of non-graspability. We come now to the second set of 144 breaths. We keep track of the second set by gingerly resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger, thus helping our subtle energies to coalesce in our chest. Good evening. Welcome to the second half of this evening's group practice. Please chant with me. By the way, if you just tuned in, this archetype is known as the All Good Ones, known in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karamamudra, and known in Tibetan as Kuntu Zongpo Yabhyam. Please chant with me. The beauty of the All Good Ones remind us of the highest love, which is the spontaneous, uncontrived, and effortless product of training in mindfulness and meditation. 2 more times. The beauty of the All Good Ones reminds us of the highest love, which is the spontaneous, uncontrived, and effortless product of training in mindfulness and meditation. The beauty of the All Good Ones reminds us of the highest love, which is the spontaneous, uncontrived, and effortless product of training in mindfulness and meditation. If you've just joined me, allow me to remind you that the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, thus facilitating the perception that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. Similarly, the most effective way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the monosyllabic verb ease during each exhalation, thus facilitating release. Since we are now beginning the third quarter of this evening's practice, we can keep track of that by gingerly placing the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, gently upon the tip of our left ring finger, and place these two in our lap. Doing so helps our subtle energy to spontaneously coalesce behind our navel, between our navel and our spine. Whoopsie. Okay, this is our fourth and final recitation of the evening. Let's perform it thrice. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which he sports reminds us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity, the product of training in mindfulness and meditation. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which he sports reminds us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity, the product of training in mindfulness and meditation. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which she sports reminds us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity, the product of training in mindfulness and meditation. So since we are come to the fourth and final 15-minute recitation or practice, we could keep track by gingerly placing the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger, and then stacking our hands horizontally in our lap, not unlike we see done in the wooden statue to my right. To my left, perhaps your right. Oh yes, by the way, connecting our hands in this way helps to the subtle energy to gather in our lower abdomen, in a region described poetically as the secret wheel. It's the size of a thumbnail, horizontal, and about a thumb's width before the spine. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.